Hey everyone, it's Jonny the Barber. Today's guest is Greco, a huge name in the real estate industry. We're going to be chatting about how he built this business from the ground up, how he manages his hundreds of apartments, and how he brokers million-dollar deals on the regular. This guy is full of knowledge. He knows what he's talking about. Get your notepads out. We're about to learn. All right, well, Chris, I feel like I can, we've had a million haircuts here, but what made you get into what you're doing? Like, how did you, I guess, at what age did you start, and what made you start it?
Well, I started getting into college. I took general business courses, and after a certain period of time, I was at a fork where they offered, now you got to break into either commercial, real estate, banking, insurance.
Restart, mother. Okay.
He's never dropped a comb in all my haircuts.
All right. Okay. So, Chris, we've had a bunch. I almost dropped it again. Give me another shot.
Just go with it. Let it drop.
All right, Chris. So we've had a bunch of haircuts together, but I found that I really never asked you. Like, I know what you do, but how did you get into it? Like, where did you start?
So when I was in college, I was taking general business courses, and I got to a certain point where they asked me to break off into either insurance, banking, or real estate. And my family, in particular my cousin Dennis, I always had known was in real estate. And ironically, when I was 19 years old, he approached me and asked me what I was doing with my life. And, I said I was in college, I was taking business courses.
At 19.
At 19. And so I said, well, I'm at this point where they're asking me what to do. And he said, hey, would you ever consider doing real estate? He was always very successful. So I said, sure, I'll listen to what you have to say. So I went over to his house one day, and literally he started talking to me about the business. And I just literally, I don't know, I liked what he said. I was one of these types of people. I didn't love school, to be honest. I didn't really want to
I can relate.
In college. I was more one of those people that you just show me what to do and let me do it. I'm more of a driven type person in that respect. So, I said, what do I need to do? And he directed me to, why don't you get your real estate license, come in here, we'll start teaching you the business. And literally that's how I got started. And I was 19 years old, and I am 52, and I've been working ever since.
So what was the pivotal point? Because obviously, like, if you're starting at 19, it's not like you got a boatload of money. You know what I mean?
Zero.
Yeah. So
zero debt.
yeah. So
zero,
if someone wants to get into real estate, and they don't have any money, and all they know is, I feel like a lot of people want to get into it because they see the perks of financial freedom and, blah blah blah, all the upside. But how would someone get into it who had nothing?
Well, I guess the question would be, what part of real estate do they want to get into? Do they want to sell real estate, or do they want to own real estate? I mean, the important thing for me, I guess, at the time was I was looking just mainly at brokering real estate because I think I was actually too young to even think to myself that I was going to start owning real estate.
What's brokering?
Well, I mean, selling real estate to people. So working in an aspect of, trading properties for people. So I think, if you're 19 years old, you don't really have a lot of money. The fortunate part for me was I didn't have a lot of overhead either, so.
You had nothing to lose.
I had nothing to lose. Real estate sales, though, straight commission. It's really, it's not a great way to start. But again, I believe that, the most successful people in real estate are people that are really self-motivated and driven. And I had that drive. My mother is my inspiration. You know, she raised myself and my two older sisters. I lost my father when I was young, and she worked, you know, 2 jobs to raise us. You know, we lived very, very modestly. And I think my work ethic came from her, you know, and
100%.
and I saw, you know, the life that she provided for us, which, you know, wasn't a lot. We didn't have a lot, but, you know,
But you had enough.
I had enough.
Yeah.
I had enough, and I had, you know, I never knew any different. Like, I never knew that I didn't have a lot. But, you know, I think that inner drive that she instilled in me just, you know, made me, you know, put my head down, and I just went at it.
So for inspirational purposes only, what do you own now? Like how many units do you have? And
So I have about 125 units. I own part of this building that you're sitting in right now, which
a modest 12-story building in downtown Buffalo.
you know, I had sold to some very good clients of mine that as I started going through the property, when I was selling it to them, you know, I fell in love with it. It's got tremendous history and architecture, and just it's had a ton of potential. So when we were doing all the inspections and due diligence, I literally fell in love with it. And, you know, I asked them if, you know, myself and my cousin Dennis, you know, if they wouldn't mind if we came in as a minority partner, and they were fine with it. So, you know, now I'm sitting in a building that we own.
That's awesome.
And obviously, it's even better now that you're here.
So you've brought up a couple times that you work with Dennis. And now I know, but your wife also does, she has a part of, like, what does she do for the business?
Yeah, so my wife and I have been married about 20 years. We didn't actually start out together in the business. So she always had a real estate license, but she never really, you know, was attracted to the business. I guess when she was younger, she was going to go to law school, and then she ended up in communications and retail. And it wasn't until we got married and we were going to have our first child, and she was in a human resource position and a lot of hours, you know, just tough situation. And I said, you know what? I don't really think that this is something that you need to do. I said, I think we should start buying some real estate. Why don't you run it? You have the background. And so that's what we started doing. We started buying some properties, and she started doing the rentals and the showings, and now she runs our entire business.
How has it been, like, being in a family business? Like, what's like the good and the bad?
Okay, I don't think there's any really wrong way to answer this or good way to answer this. I'm never going to say that it's not fun working with my wife, but there are days for sure that, you know, it's challenging working together.
I always wondered how people do that, like how you could go from, like, you could, like, let's say you're at home and you guys get in a fight at night over something stupid, then you got to, like, get up and go to work the next day and handle business. And
Well, it's funny. We had a small, when we bought our house, we had an office in our house. We were going to put literally a 2-seated desk in the same room. We lasted like 4 minutes.
Get it out!
Because we're both very loud talkers, and it just didn't work out.
You're on the phone, she's on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible. It's impossible to work there. So, I mean, long story short, I mean, fast forwarding, I mean, she's great. She's great at what she does. She's extremely hard worker as well. You know, and there are times, like in anything, I'm sure in your business, and, you know, in any business, there's tough days and, you know, good days. But working together and working for ourselves rather than her working for somebody else, I mean, you can't beat it.
What was, like, I know there's probably a bunch, but what was, like, what was the lowest point you think you've had, like, being in business? Because everyone in business has low points, and I feel like no one ever talks about it, and there's never, like, an outlet where people can say, like, you know, you always hear about how good people do and what they've done, but, like, what was one of the low points that was tough?
I mean, I think early on, when I didn't have any money, and I was trying to, you know, you sell a piece of property, and literally you don't get paid for like 3 or 4 months. So I think the lowest point was me trying to actually get my feet off the ground. And then when I bought my first building, I remember like dumping everything I had into this property, and I had like $200 in my checking account. And I literally crapped myself because, the thought of me having to have something break down or, just the unexpected and not me having any backup. It wasn't like I could go to, somebody for help. I didn't have that. I didn't have that backing to do that. So I think that was a real challenge for me, and I had a ton of sleepless nights.
Don't you feel like that's the reason you were successful though? Because like you couldn't fail? Like I feel like a lot of people don't do well because there's always that like, well, if I fail, this person can bail me out, or if I fail, I can file bankruptcy. Like I feel like if you have the mentality of I can't fail, I'm gonna win.
I would agree with that for sure. I mean, I had no safety net. I didn't have it, and maybe that was the reason why. I mean, I did a lot of praying. I believe in God tremendously and Him, helping me out. But I think that was a major part of it. I couldn't fail because I didn't have anything else to do, And like I said, I literally didn't even finish, my college degree because I literally got into real estate and I put my head down and I never turned back. It wasn't because I didn't really want to do it. It's just because, I just felt that I could do this better and faster. And a degree to me, although it's very important and, I don't diminish it at all. It wasn't for me. Like it wasn't my route to go.
Agreed.
So.
Agreed. Do you feel, for people that want to get into real estate and for people that, because out of all my clients, I feel like real estate's like that one thing that people talk about because they feel like it's like, the best source of passive income, the best way to like, make money while you're sleeping. I'm sure you hear all the reasons why people want to get into it. Do you think buying a double and, like people always say, I want to buy a double and then, run out the upper and then buy another double. Do you think that's better? Or do you think like actually like buying like, saving up your money and buying something bigger is the way to go? Like now that you've done it, and I feel like you've probably done it all and seen it all, if you had to tell someone who is 21 years old who says, I want to get into it, what would you tell them to do?
I'd probably find out what their end game is. I'd probably find out like, is real estate investment their actual end game and they want to really make a living at it, or is it something just to have a passive income? Because, there's two different directions you can take somebody. I'm not a big proponent of doubles. It's a great method if somebody wants to buy something and live in it and rent out the other. You're not going to make a ton of money with it, but it serves a purpose. It's better than renting an apartment. You own your own property. There's somebody else helping you pay the rent. There's nothing wrong with it. But if somebody were to say to me, hey, Chris, you know what, this is going to be my career, I would try to encourage them to get into something larger because the reality is you're going to show up at the property anyway. So if you're going to work on 2 units or you're going to work on 6, the return's much better. Now, everybody could say, well, what if I can't get into 6 units? I guess you start and you get into what you can and then you grow it from there. And it really is dependent on what you want to get out of it.
Okay, here's a question. How does someone like yourself with all these units, like, and I understand it's a family business, but how do you balance like work and personal life? Because I feel like I understand that some people believe that there's a work-life balance. Some people don't. Some people think it's work, 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 work. But how do you have free time with the family, balance all this property? Because I know people that have 3 units and, or they have a 4 unit, they live in one of them, and they're always doing something. They're changing the hot water tank, they're doing this, they're fixing this faucet. Yep. Like, what's the balance with that?
So it's tough, especially in the beginning. I mean, I have two kids. They're 17 and 14 now, so they're a little older. But obviously, when I started with my wife, my kids were young. My wife literally took my kids in a car carrier to apartment showings. And up until, I don't know, when they were 8, 10 years old, they could literally answer, apartment calls because they've been around my wife so long that, they're so well versed in it. I guess The balance is that it's our own business, so we can work from home, we can be there. Are we always at 100% attention with them? No, you know, because when you own your own business, like in any business, you're called at all hours, you know. So, I mean, I guess as I got older, the work-life balance got a little bit more balanced, but in the beginning, you know, I mean, we're still working, don't get me wrong, we're still working a lot.
But you were definitely grinding it out.
We were grinding it out. There's no question. And, you know, we look at ourselves now, we're still grinding it out. You know, it's a lot of work. I mean, we're probably dealing with over 300, 400 people, you know, on a daily basis.
So don't get into real estate if you don't want to work.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If you're a very passive person that doesn't want to, you know, put themselves out, real estate is not your avenue.
What's the worst tenant story you got?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. We had a mother and a daughter that lived in one of our buildings. It was a newly renovated building, and the daughter was going to law school, and she hadn't even really been in law school that long, but she felt that she was Johnny Cochran. Okay, and we had like a heat issue in one of the units, and they wrote, I kid you not, they wrote us 15 emails in 4 days, and these were like 4 or 5 pages long. About
emails that are trying to get you to like admit to stuff so that they could
just all kinds of, you know, we're going to twist our words around and trap you into something. And we're literally like, we could not believe the amount of complaints that they had. And
were they new tenants?
They were brand new tenants, brand new building. And she was telling us that her daughter couldn't sleep in the bedroom because every time she'd look up, the ceiling was spinning. And you know, we were like, what is this lady talking about? You know, you just get some really interesting people. You know, when you're dealing with the public, I mean, there's all kinds. So we always refer to any issue that we get, you know, well, it's not as bad as Belinda and Tracy. You know, that's what we say. Mm-hmm. So we know my wife and I. So if you guys
are watching this,
yeah,
we apologize. But you sucked.
No last names.
Yeah.
No last names.
But you definitely sucked. Here's a great question. So I imagine 90% of your work is handled on your cell phone?
Yes.
Okay, so this is something I get in trouble for because 90% of my work, or 95% of my work's on my phone, whether it be social media, texting clients back, answering phone calls, setting up meetings, blah, 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 blah. How do you and your wife actually spend time together? This is not related to like real estate, but how do you guys actually spend like quality time together? Not like sitting on the couch like on your phones, because I feel like even my generation, like we are all in that trap of like, you know, every time I go out to eat, you like look at a table, someone's on their phone, you know, they're not even talking with each other. So 100%. What do you guys do, or are you guilty of that?
Well, I mean, look, I'd be lying if I said we didn't do that. I mean, we have done that in the past, but we really try to make a conscious effort. Like my kids, who are again 17 and 14, and you can imagine how much screen time they have. If we ever go out to dinner, I always tell them to leave their phone in the car.
Okay.
So we, as a family, when we sit for dinner, we do not get on our phones. Now, if my wife and I are out to dinner, that will happen where we'll have our phones out because, you know, our kids are being watched by somebody or whatever. Does an occasional work email come in or a text? Yes. But, I mean, we tend really not to do that. I mean, it's...
So you're just conscious of it.
We're conscious of it. I mean, you know, sometimes it's hard, you know, to do it. I mean, you know, it's an addictive... It's a device that, you know, it's got a double-edged sword to it.
I know, because we're so, like, it's weird, because I feel like sometimes I've literally opened up an app, closed it out, opened it again, closed it out, just to open it. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm just constantly looking, but it's like...
It's force of habit.
I know.
Force of habit.
I don't want to say we're obsessed with everyone else, like what everyone else is doing, but we should be focused on what we're doing and maybe who we're neglecting. Yeah. So we've talked about the lowest of the low of your career and, kind of that kind of thing. What has been the highest point? Like, what's been like the most like when did you feel, number one, the most alive, and like when did you just feel like, you know, what I'm doing is working?
I mean, I really, felt most alive. I mean, as I started, buying real estate and, being more successful in selling real estate, I think the combination of the two of those, I think really is when I started to feel that.
What feels better, where you're at now, or like closing like a huge deal, like something where you're gonna make like a ton of money, or like something like that we're working on for like 3, 4, 5 months or something, or 6 months or a year or whatever?
So I just closed my largest deal. It was 16 months, and it was a great feeling.
It took 16 months?
16 months, yeah. So 31 years later, it was a huge deal and one of the biggest in Western New York, and it was 16 months worth of work. Dennis and I worked on it together, and it was gratifying, just because it was a challenge for me personally, just to work on it. And I think that from a career aspect, it's just kind of like a personal thing, that I wanted to accomplish. So those kind of things are rewarding for me.
So do you feel like you're slowing down? Do you feel like you're just getting started? Like, career-wise, where are you at?
I mean, I definitely don't feel like I'm slowing down.
How many years did you say you were doing this?
31. I definitely don't feel like I'm slowing down. I mean, I think I'm busier now than I've ever been, to be honest. And I think that's just a combination of the years that I've had doing this, and then the clientele that I built up over the years, and the confidence level and the knowledge of the marketplace. I mean, this as well as I do. Western New York is, been on an uprise for the last, 5 to 7 years, and when I started, Western New York was, in the toilet. It was brutal, and for many, many years, we just puttered along. So
how many years do you think it took? I guess we could go into something else I wanted to ask, but how many years do you think it takes to start in this biz, like in the real estate biz?
So in sales, I mean, in sales, it really is dependent upon how much you want to get at it and get on the phone. I mean, literally, I was old school back then because there wasn't phones. I remember I was telling somebody the other day, my first cell phone was $2,400, and it was the one that you put in your car.
Hello?
Yeah, it was about that big, and I put it in my car, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, But I mean,
You're just like pulling through McDonald's.
yeah, with a cord hanging out the window.
Yeah.
But I think technology was obviously very scarce back then, and we literally had a calculator and a phone, and I literally came in, on a daily basis and just hit the phones, and I just would stay there from 8 o'clock till, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and a lot of rejection, tons of rejection. People, when you're young, you don't have a lot of confidence, you're starting new in the business.
People probably don't
Not too
give you
many.
the time of day.
Yeah, not too many people are going to give you their 50-unit apartment building to sell. So, you get a lot of people like, yeah, no, thanks for calling. But you get that one breakthrough deal, and then you get a little bit more confidence, and get a little more confidence after that, and then it kind of just
rolls from there.
So, it's like anything new when you start. You gotta build up to it. But I think if I had technology today that people have, and the resources, I think it might be a little bit easier, to get your name out there and to get started. But it's all I had at the time.
All right, we're done. Fuck it. Is there anything else we like in terms of question-wise that we should talk about? Was there anything on the list that you think I should ask, or is there anything you think I should ask as opposed to?
I mean, are we trying to hit an audience that may want to get into real estate? I mean, maybe
I
wouldn't
want
say
to say business. You know what I mean? Like,
Business in general.
yeah, because I feel like all businesses ends up being like work hard and.
how would you, if you go with like, if you're looking for a closing thing?
Well, I'm probably still like 5 minutes out from being done with a cut.
You know, what might you say, like, verbally, like, acknowledge the audience? What might you say to somebody who's, you know, maybe a little discouraged by, or defeated by, like, the lack of success you see in the beginning? Or
So I guess identify whether you're talking about sales or ownership, because there's two different
sectors.
distinctive people there.
Okay.
You know, because if I'm talking to a real estate agent versus a real estate investor, two different people, two different answers.
Okay. All right, we'll get into it. So, because I know a lot of my clients are guilty of, from what I understand, it's not maybe the most difficult thing to get your real estate license. I know it's like a test and this and that.
Right.
The person that does it on the side, like if someone wants to do real estate, do you recommend just going all in and, you know, maybe having a month or two of not making any money and just like kind of just being a real estate salesperson? Like, do you think that that's the way to do it? Or do you think they should have like a side gig where maybe, you know, they bartend and do real estate, or they work a day job and do real estate on the side?
Yeah, I honestly don't know how anybody could just go all in.
Okay.
I mean, the only reason that I was, you know, remotely successful in doing that, and I'm saying that, you know, I actually had a couple side jobs as well, but
And you were also able to start in a family biz.
yeah, but I mean, I don't think that really, I mean, he, you know, Dennis and his wife Cindy helped me and they taught me, you know, that, but, you know, I had to ultimately get on the phone. I had to actually get out there and do what I had to do. So they gave me guidance like another real estate company would give anybody guidance, but I think what, you know, helped me is I was 19. I had no family, you know, as far as a wife and kids. I had no real overhead. You know, so I didn't have a ton of pressure on me.
Yeah, no, you legit had nothing.
I had nothing. I had
everything to
myself.
gain.
I had myself. You know, so I had to live very modestly, and you know, I think that helped a lot. But I think if you're, you know, 35, 40 years old, you got a wife and a couple kids, and you want to get into real estate, I would not suggest, you know, quitting your job and then jumping in with both feet. That would be really dangerous.
Something you said that stood out to me. You said it to me probably going back. I was back in, it was when I was in Williamsville, so at least 5 years ago. You said, because I was asking you, I forgot, you'll probably remember, but I forgot what I was asking, but I'm like, should I buy this? Should I do this? Should I do that? And you told me, smell the roses along the way.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
do you think that kind of maybe splurging on a couple things or doing, like, has that helped you?
No doubt.
No doubt?
No doubt.
Kind of giving yourself like an expense, or I don't know,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest vice is cars. I've always loved cars, the worst investment in the world, but they're a lot of fun. And so I literally would work, you know, for my next car. And, you know, I loved having a great new car, driving around, and that was my thing, you know, back then. I mean, I still love cars. It's not my main priority now. I have a family, and, you know, they're obviously first. But you got to have some vices. You got to have some outlets, you know, because you can't just work for nothing.
No, I can agree with that.
You know, and my wife and I are very blessed to have a second home in Florida, and, you know, we go there now, and that is, you know, my wife calls it her happy place. So that's what we work for. That's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
We have tough weeks. We have tough months. You know, we say, oh, we're going down to Florida, you know, next month, or, you know, whatever. And we go down there, whether it's a week, 10 days, whatever. That to us is our outlet.
That's why you work.
That's why we work.
I got it.
And we're able to share it with everybody. You know, my kids, obviously, we just literally came back. We had 11 people at our house, and they were most of my wife's family. My family comes like in February, and we're able to share that with everybody. And
So
you know, we get a tremendous amount of pleasure out of that. That's what makes us, you know, what we do, really rewarding. Just because we can give back a little bit and you know, enjoy it with them. Because you know what, if you do really well, and you have all these things, you got nobody to share them with, that that ends up.
How the hell do I get a phone call right now? Are you kidding me? What the hell is this? That's fuck. This thing never rings on Monday. Are you kidding me?
Is it my wife?
Pulled it up. Okay, well, getting back into it. Someone told me a long time ago, life's about the people you meet and the relationships you have with them, and you having all those people over your house and like being able to open up your house to like having, guests and whatnot. Yeah. That 100%, I feel like that's so fulfilling, and that's got to be so motivating to you to like come back and work and keep doing what you're doing because you can do things like that.
It is. I mean, one of the main reasons why we did what we did, when I was telling you about my mother, how she raised us and everything, and we grew up in literally like a 1,500 square foot home, 2-bedroom home, shared a bathroom with 3 girls, and
So you never got to shower. You
never really got to shower.
Are you out of your? Look, it says we're closed. Jonny the Barber. And by the way, we're closed on Mondays. Calls twice. The voicemail literally says our hours. I hate that guy. Oh my God. See, I got an anger problem. That shouldn't upset me.
That's all right.
All right, let me straighten this damn thing out. All right, blow that out one more time. This freaking lighting, you're gonna have a freaking chin strap. It's gonna look like you did it. Mark, can I wear a headlamp when we do this?
I can't wait to see what I look like. This is all done.
All right, we're gonna need to put the lights on after, but I'll fix it later. Okay, what was the last?
So I was saying that how I grew up and my mother raising us and everything. One of the driving forces of us getting a house in Florida is I wanted to, get her to come down with us. Mm-hmm. And so when we built the house, we had like her own bedroom and her own bathroom built.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
kind of like a mother-in-law suite.
Yeah. So
Nice.
It's kind of like a little small wing of the house you can kind of shut off and be by yourself. But
you know how you made it? When you refer to a part of your house as a wing.
I didn't say that, actually, did I?
Yeah, you did. Her wing.
Little corner of the house. I'll just make it a little corner. And when she was there one time, she was sitting outside, and she's like, I never would have thought in a million years that I'd be sitting down in Florida, out looking at a pool.
That had to feel so good.
I was like, wow, that was like really gratifying for me.
Wow.
To have her say that.
Oh my God. Dude, that's 100%. That would have been like, my God.
It was
worth every bit of struggle, every bit of grief, late nights.
It was.
It's all worth it.
It was.
What was, to kind of, as the caveat to that, what is the highest point of your career? Or what's been the highest point thus far?
Probably the deal I just closed.
Okay.
I mean, that, from a business standpoint, that would probably be it. I mean, I really am, I'm blessed with what I have and what I've done. And I certainly don't, pat myself on the back for doing it and claiming all of the, success for myself. I mean, I've had a lot of good mentors and a lot of good teachers. And
who has been your biggest mentors?
Oh, probably Dennis. I mean, he brought me into the business. He taught me the business. And,
Which is just something funny. How crazy is it that Dennis, who's your business partner, mentor, first cousin, the whole nine, Dennis went to high school with my father.
Yeah.
Because my dad had me when he was 50.
That's crazy.
He's a thug, no big deal. But he went to high school with Dennis. I just think that is absolutely hilarious that he's in the yearbook. So Dennis has been one of your biggest mentors, and who else? Or was he really it?
Well, I mean, from a local standpoint, I mean, I've read a lot of books. I've listened to a lot of, audio, tapes and so forth on, just real estate and, business. And so I've had a lot of like mentors, that I've, taken bits and pieces from. I mean, it's like a cliche. I mean, people say it all the time. But I literally wanted to educate myself as much as I could. But really, I'm a firm believer that if you don't have, you can have all the education in the world, but if you don't have the drive and the ambition to do something, whatever it is, whether it's real estate or not, I don't think you're going to do well. I really don't. So I just think that you have to have a burning desire. Your burning desire is, being a barber and running a business and, watching that. If you didn't have that, I mean, if I handed you this shop tomorrow,
Here
and
you
didn't
go.
and you didn't have that drive,
Yeah,
it wouldn't mean anything.
No, then you're not going to last.
It wouldn't do anything. So, like people say, I want to get into real estate, and I ask them why. Why do you want to get into real estate? Like, what's your because people relate real estate to everybody making money. There's, a gazillion agents that make no money. And maybe because it's the fact that they just don't have the drive or the ambition or the want or the need. And then there's people that make, 10 times what I make, and they have a bigger drive than me, and you see the shows on TV, $1 Million Listing LA, New York, and these guys are doing $500 million a year in sales, I mean, they're making
it look easy.
They're making it, they're showing beautiful homes and beautiful locations, but they're busting their ass, they really are. And you don't make that kind of money, you're not that successful unless you really do. So, I don't know. I think that's just my 2 cents, my philosophy, and the whole thing. I just think whatever you do, you have to have drive and ambition. If you don't, good luck. I don't know how anybody can succeed in doing that.
And now, family-wise, are you happy that kind of real estate has given you the ability to, I assume, like kids' sports games and stuff like that? Does real estate give you the ability to not miss a game and be able to take them to practice and get home by 3-4 o'clock or take off? Like
100%.
Okay.
I think technology too. You can pretty much work from anywhere now. I mean, I've always been to my kids. Any type of sports they've been involved in, any types of class, school events, anything. My wife and I have always been there. Which has been a blessing because I know a lot of people can't. We have a lot of friends that have jobs that don't allow them to do that. So, I mean, again, another blessing that, we're able to do that, and this business has afforded us that luxury. So, yeah, it's huge. I mean, aside from the money, that to me is, it's priceless, I think, because the kids grew up so fast.
pull that up.
And once you have kids, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Speaking of which.
You gotta have kids, and then the kids, they bring on, expenses and college
You rise
funds.
to the occasion.
Just like buying an expensive car.
Yeah. You'll figure it out.
That's actually so true, though, because when like my old job that I had, I actually worked at a car dealership, and I was in the finance office, and like the number one thing people in the car biz do is encourage you to buy cars when you can't afford it. So I jumped up in payment. I literally doubled my payment from where I was at, and like I was freaking out. But what did I do? Just worked a little bit harder, and now, that doubled car payment isn't, not to say it's not a lot, but it doesn't feel like as much because, I worked 10 times harder to be able to, I don't know, kind of not sweat having to pay it at the end of the month.
You outperform it.
Yeah.
It's funny that reminds me when I was I got my first real expensive car. I went with Dennis. I was 22, and I went and bought an Audi A8 sedan.
Oh my God.
And it was brand new, big 4-door sedan.
What kind of looks at a 22-year-old kid in the head full? Everyone had to be like, look
I don't know
at this
why I
jerk.
picked that car. It was just it's something that I liked. And I'm sitting there with the finance guy, and Dennis is there with me, and he's telling me the payment. He goes, it's going to be $753.25. And I was like, holy crap. Now, I'm at 22 years old. Now, this is how many years ago? Like 30 years ago?
Uh-huh.
So that's like $1,500 today. And I looked at Dennis. I said, what do you think I should do? And he goes, I think you should go for it. So then after, like a couple of years later, I'm thinking, I know why he told me that. Because he wanted me to.
Then you have to work.
I have to work.
Then you have to work. Yeah, he's smart. He's like, do it.
But you know what? I rose to the occasion and, I paid for it. So, I mean, I don't know. It was probably a stupid move on my part, but it was what it was at that time, But it was a lot of money. And I was really crapping myself. I had no property at that time. I was just doing sales.
That would be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But sometimes you got to like put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. If you get too, I don't know, if you get too relaxed or content, maybe you tend to, slide a little bit. I mean, I always push myself. And that's why when you said, am I at the end of my career or slowing down? I mean, I don't know when that day will be. If I stay healthy, I'm able to go to work every day. I think I'll still do it. I enjoy what I do. It's fun. And
So it's true. If you love what you do, you
Yeah.
never work a day.
I mean, look, there are definite days that I don't like the business.
I love what I do, but there's some days I feel like I'm working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get home, my neck's like all forward. I'm gonna be like 90 years old, just all curled in, hunchbacked. Like, yeah, I still love it.
You started young, though.
Yeah, I started cutting when I was 16.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty young. Granted, didn't ever think I would do this.
See, I can tell you right now, I know that you're going to be successful. You already are successful for your age, but I just know that you're going to be even more successful because I already can tell the drive you have and like just what you did with this space here. When we were talking about this space and I said, Johnny, you need to make this look like the vintage of the building. You need to decorate this place like it was back in the 20s. And, you came up with the money, you did what you had to do, and you got it done. It looks fantastic.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, especially coming from you. Because I do look up to you.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I really, everybody that comes in here is like, I hear about the shop, from a lot of people that know I own the building with these guys. And they're like, what he did to the building is phenomenal.
Well,
So.
awesome. And that was all stuff that like I did have in mind, like when I was designing it. And like, our other shop definitely doesn't look like this. And like now that, we did this, I'm like looking at the other shop, I'm like, man, I should change that and I should change that. And I'm like, hey, it doesn't need to be identical, but.
It's good to have two identities. I mean, you got this down here, which is a nostalgic location, and the other one is, more urban. That's a rural, burbs.
Why did you want a barber shop in this like in your downtown building, and not like another office or
It's an amenity for tenants. It's a necessity now. Barbershops are like very hot right now. I mean, they're obviously your business is blown up. It's old school. It's the building. I mean, and guys don't want to go to a salon to get their hair cut. They want to come where they can talk with a bunch of other guys and shoot the shit and hang out and
riverboat gambling trips
and have some white label and watch a movie.
A PG-13 movie.
PG-13 movie.
There's been some times we've been down here and like I don't even look at the TV. It's just like white noise. And like someone will be sitting there. They're like, my man, that girl's got no shirt on. We're like, oh. Like, okay. And I got to remember, like, there's, like, women walking by and children, but,
You got to censor that a little better, maybe.
Yeah, we adapt. Okay, well, I'm wrapping this up. What's one thing that we can leave our viewers with? Like, what's one thing, or if there's more than one, I mean, feel free, but is there, like, one thing or a couple things that you want to leave and kind of say that, we could leave everyone with to kind of wrap this all up?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I don't know. I guess I would just say, get into something that you love to do. Be the best that you can be at it. Be a master, study, read, do as much as you can, because there's a lot of people out there that are, going to be doing the same thing. And, again, it just reverts back to drive and ambition. And, I don't want to set the tone that it's, you know, it's all about, you know, having a lot of money and a lot of success and a lot of material things, because it's really not. At the end of the day, it's about being happy. And I just think that if you are that type of a driven person, you got to really educate yourself. You got to continue to be a master in your trade. And, you know, that's pretty much what I would suggest to most people.
You demand. Damn it, there was something you were saying I wanted to comment on. What the hell were you saying? Talked about the train. What was the question I asked you that you said all that to? I asked you like a question.
You record.
What did I just ask you? Oh, something you want to leave the people with?
Yeah. The hot shave. Getting the hot shave.
Well, I guess what I really like, I like what you said to me years ago. Smell the roses along the way. I feel like that's very good advice for anyone, because, you know, whenever you work hard, or even if you don't work hard, like sometimes we don't ever treat ourselves, or, you know, treat yourself. We don't like go out and do crazy things, or, you know, go on trips, and, you know, we say we'll do it later, we'll do it later, we'll do it later. Well, yeah. I think anyone should do it now. Live it up. Do whatever you got to do.
I would agree with that 100%. And you know what? That actually, you know, as I worked, you know, for the years that I've worked, and I've seen a lot of clients that have built like these real estate empires, and they always said to me, you know, when I'm 65, I'm going to retire, I'm going to sell this, and I'm going to go and I'm going to retire. I've had literally, you know, 10 clients that have not made it to 60, you know, and one lesson that I've learned is, you know, you can't wait. You have to live every day. You have to go and do what you're going to do. Like you went to Europe with your wife, you got to do that stuff
100%.
Because you don't know what life's going to bring you.
You're right. And that's that's why, you know, at the time, it's like, oh my God, this honeymoon is how much? And we're going here, here, and here. And like, for me, it doesn't bother me anymore, but I wasn't the biggest fan of flying. And, you know, a 10-hour flight is...
it's a long ways.
It's a long ways. But I'm so glad I did it. And I wouldn't trade those memories for any amount of money, anything.
Absolutely.
All right, good. So, smell the roses along the way. Go on trips.
Enjoy what you do.
Enjoy what you do. And if you want to buy property, stop buying doubles and wasting your coin. Save up and buy something big.
Thanks, Johnny.
And we're good to go.
We good, guys? Thank you.
We made it.
How was it?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah?
Thanks for watching our video. If you want to see more, subscribe, like, comment. Let us know how we did. If not, you.